The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Senseless slaughter, the latest in a long string of mass shootings in America, has reopened the politically explosive subject of gun control and the Second Amendment.
That the desire to defend life has been so cast aside into whatever political correctness views guns as the ultimate evil. Evil's in our hearts, not in the guns.
And I will tell you here today, you will take my ability to protect my Victoria from my cold, dead hands.
How can I rightfully, in my own mind and in my heart, come in and take guns away from people when that is their protection?
You have more than a gun per adult in this country, and you have by far the worst rate of gun murder and gun crime of any of the civilized countries of this world.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Rhetoric and Civic Life. I'm Wes Mantooth.
And I'm Ron Burgundy.
Today, we'd like to talk about something that's been booming in the media these days. That's right, we're talking about gun rights, specifically gun rights on college campuses.
The issue of gun rights has been around for quite some time, Wes. The Founding Fathers stated in the Second Amendment, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yet, in the past few years, we've noticed that this has become under fire.
Ron, you joker. Indeed. In 1934, due to the rising crime rates following the Prohibition era, Congress passed the National Firearms Act. In 1968, Congress passed the Gun Control Act, which limited who could and could not purchase firearms, including convicted criminals and those with mental disabilities.
Despite all of these regulations, the United States has still had problems controlling the use of guns, and educational institutions have been an area of particular concern. School shootings have gone back to the 1760s and continue to appear even today.
Events such as these have made disturbing reappearances throughout history. The issue of gun control on college campuses, however, began with the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007. 32 people were shot and killed by the culprit. And since then, the controversy over whether or not students should be allowed to carry firearms on campus has been a hot topic. So what about Penn State? We now turn to our on-scene reporter, Champ Kind, live at Simmons Hall.
Thanks, Wes. We're here at Simmons Hall, where in 2013, Penn State instituted a new no-bag policy for spectators at Beaver Stadium. This rule prohibits people from bringing in any bags other than a clear, 1-gallon plastic bag for medical and/or child care needs. This policy is an important additional layer of security for all the spectators and participants, said Steve Shillow, Assistant Vice President for Police and Public Safety here at Penn State. However, the question still remains as to whether this is a stringent enough policy. We asked Penn State students how they felt about the implications of this new policy. Why do you think the bag policy at Beaver Stadium was implemented?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's for the safety of everyone who's there, right?
I think it's for the students' safety. They probably worried that people would bring alcohol or maybe weapons into the stadium.
Do you think the bag policy is effectively implemented here at Penn State to protect its students?
At this point, it's better than nothing, but if anyone actually did want to hurt someone, they'd find a way to do it, because they don't check people at the door. There's no pat-downs. And I'm not saying that there should be, but if someone wants to hurt someone, they'll find a way to do it.
I think it's very effective because people can't bring much of anything into the stadium.
As far as the alcohol goes, it is, because people have a hard time sneaking in bottles of things, but it still is possible, especially in the winter months, for people to hide things under their coats. And if they were really trying hard, there are ways to get the alcohol or weapons.
I think the policy does help, but it's not completely effective because I've cleaned the stadium and I've found so many little bottles of alcohol and so many things you wouldn't even imagine.
As you can see, a lot of controversy exists about this no-bag policy. Wes and Ron, back to you.
Thanks, Champ. Policies such as these have been popping up all around campuses and all over the country. Many of these have taken the initiative to allow students to carry guns on campus. At the moment, 5 colleges in just Pennsylvania have allowed students to carry firearms. California University, Edinburgh, Slippery Rock University, Kutztown University, Millersville University and Lock Haven University have strict laws that do permit students to carry concealed weapons under certain stipulations. Expert investigator Mila Kunis asked how people felt about this.
Thanks, Ron. And might I add, what a fine mustache. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that this controversy has come about as a result of everyone's desire for safety. On one hand, some feel as though fewer crimes would be committed if students were allowed to carry concealed weapons. However, many argue that adding guns to students may open the doors for more dangerous situations. We asked people what they thought about concealed carry to find out how Penn State students really feel on this issue. How would you feel if your peers were carrying guns on campus?
I think it would make me extremely uncomfortable just because I wouldn't be sure if, even if I knew them, if they would pull it out randomly, and it's just a safety hazard even if I would know them.
I would be very uncomfortable if I knew that people on campus had guns.
I'd be pretty uncomfortable knowing that everyone's walking around with a gun because then there's a higher chance of violence happening, I think.
I would be definitely a little concerned, probably more than concerned. I would be nervous because I know that if someone has a gun, it's just so much more likely to escalate a situation.
I honestly would not feel very safe at all if I knew that kids around me were carrying guns, just because you know the harm that they can do to anyone.
Do you think colleges should allow concealed carry?
No, definitely not. I think that's a huge safety problem and it's extremely dangerous for everyone.
I don't think colleges should let students carry guns on campus. It's too much of a danger to students, other students, and themselves.
I don't think so because I feel like that would bring a higher risk to the rest of the students. If one student were to, I don't know, go crazy and use it, then we have a problem then.
I personally do not think it's necessary that anyone would have to have a gun on campus walking around.
Do you think carrying restrictions are helpful in preventing campus shootings?
I think in some ways yes, but for the most part no, just because when you look back in history at the school shootings that have happened in the past, the people who do it are usually they have mental issues and they probably wouldn't care whether there was a restriction or not.
They're definitely helpful because if you don't let people have guns, then they're less likely to shoot each other.
I think they do because there are less guns on campus to have to worry about. If you have a ton of guns on campus, then you have to keep track of a lot more.
I don't think they completely stop school shootings from happening, but I believe it significantly reduces the amount of shootings that could happen.
I do, although I also acknowledge that college students aren't likely to listen to those restrictions. But I think if you enforce it enough and enforce the consequences, that it definitely helps.
Clearly, Penn State students feel very passionately about gun rights on campus. Wes, back to you.
Thanks, Mila. With all of this controversy, it's impossible to not bring up the recent campus shootings and threats, specifically the one at Penn State.
That's right. On October 12th, Penn State students observed a threat on social media platform Yik Yak, in which an anonymous student stated he will kill everyone in the hub at 12 noon. Police later found out that this was a mere prank by the student, but no one was laughing.
You got that right, Ron. Events such as these are the reason that this controversy exists. People believe that putting guns in the hands of young people could prevent threats such as these due to the belief that we have our own personal safety. However, on November 20th, 31-year-old Myron May, an alumnus of Florida State University, shot at least 3 people before being brought down by the Tallahassee police force. Despite the tragic event, University President John Thrasher stated that the police did an extraordinary job taking quick and decisive action to prevent further tragedy.
Indeed. Most college campuses, despite what people may think, are remarkably safe places. Penn State itself has numerous security measures to ensure students are safe both on and off campus. Penn State works in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, State College Borough Police, and surrounding police agencies.
You got that right. And let's not forget about the timely warnings sent out by the Penn State Police Force. Following any incident, students who are subscribed will receive a notification of the crime, what transpired, what time, and what the suspect looked like.
Penn State is an overall safe place to live, albeit some crimes still do occur. Nevertheless, at one point, the most frequently occurring crime at Penn State was, well, you guessed it, stolen bicycle seats.
As you can see, safety at Penn State is quite an interesting concept. Proponents of gun rights might say that even despite all safety measures, many incidents still go unreported, and that this is why guns would be beneficial on campus. They could help students protect themselves against crimes that would otherwise go unnoticed by campus police.
Even so, many students still feel that guns could cause more problems on campus.
Indeed. So overall, we have a very fickle situation. On one side, people feel as though guns on campus could stop school shootings and prevent other crimes, such as rape.
And on the other hand, guns could be a straight route to Problemsville, Pennsylvania, somewhere you never want to go.
So what do you think? Should guns be allowed on college campuses? Would they really help us ensure our own safety? Only time will tell.
That's all for today, citizens. Up next, can you really teach an old cat dog new tricks? This has been a special edition of Rhetoric and Civic Life. I'm Ron Burgundy.
And I'm Wes Mantooth.
Stay classy, San Diego.